Before we begin Unit 3, here is the answer to the Unit 2 question. The best answer is choice C.
People view the role that humans should play on Earth in three distinct ways. The three environmental worldviews are planetary management, anthropocentric, a human-centered ideology, environmental wisdom, ecocentric, an earth-centered philosophy, and stewardship, biocentric, an ideology that entrusts humans to use the Earth's resources wisely, but holds them morally obligated to take care of the living and non-living components of the planet. Concentric is not considered to be an environmental worldview. It is an adjective denoting shapes that share the same center. Unit 3. Understanding the problem.
You may have heard someone say, the solution cannot be worse than the problem.
That may sound like good advice. However, before you make any decisions, you better understand the magnitude of your problem.
This beachgoer's dilemma far outweighs any potential risk posed by the solution of running away.
The inability to foresee, recognize, or understand a potential problem often results in a failure to act intelligently.
Unfortunately, our failure to understand a problem may be exacerbated by individuals that intentionally attempt to confuse, misinform, or deceive us.
With regard to a sustainable future, before any of us can become part of the solution, we must first understand the problem.
Let's take a quick look at some of the major environmental crises facing our society.
Overpopulation may be the root cause of all of the environmental problems.
There are over 7.5 billion people living on our planet today. However, less than 100 years ago, there were only 2 billion.
You heard that correctly. Since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, the human population has been growing exponentially.
Our technology has allowed us to control natural limiting factors, such as predators, physical hazards, and pandemics that otherwise would have kept our species in check.
It doesn't take a genius to realize this exponential growth cannot continue. After all, there are only so many fish that can live in a fishbowl.
Unless we intercede and learn to control our own population, Mother Nature will certainly do that for us, and we may not like the way she does it.
With the exception of an occasional meteor striking its surface, the Earth can be considered a closed system, containing only a finite amount of matter.
As our population increases, so does our need for certain materials and substances. However, the problem is more complex than just running out of things.
As we extract resources from the Earth, we begin to deprive other species of access to them.
As you will learn, one of nature's principles of sustainability is the recycling of essential nutrients. Human activities are interfering with these natural nutrient cycles that have existed for eons.
Resource depletion leads to habitat destruction and loss of biodiversity, or reductions in the abundance or variety of species.
Our society is dependent on non-renewable energy resources, many of which may soon become economically depleted. We have no choice but to begin an immediate transition to renewable resources if our way of life is to continue.
Pollution is defined as the introduction of contaminants into the environment causing adverse change. The problem goes well beyond the simple presence of unsightly material littering our neighborhoods.
Later in this course, we will examine the sheer magnitude of our solid waste problem, and you will come to understand the issues associated with managing the hazardous waste we produce.
Contaminants from pollution find their way into our food, air, and water supplies, and eventually into our bodies.
If you view the Earth from space, you will realize that we are much like fish living in a bowl. Like the fish to their water, we are exposed to whatever is in our environment.
Remember the picture of the Earth at night? You may be starting to see that those lights could be an indication of more than just progress.
Natural environmental hazards such as wildfires, severe weather, and pathogenic organisms have been and will continue to be part of our environment.
Hazards such as these are referred to as environmental resistance factors. They have served to control the populations of organisms since the beginning of life on our planet.
The vast majority of environmental resistance factors for human beings have been eliminated. However, some cannot be avoided. It's imperative that we understand what these factors are, as well as the best ways of dealing with them.
The COVID-19 pandemic is the perfect example of nature clashing with human society.
While the virus serves as an example of an environmental resistance factor controlling our population, human ingenuity and technology are being applied to combat the threat and minimize loss of life.
It's interesting to note that in the process of controlling the pandemic, economic hardship is being weighed against loss of life due to a natural environmental hazard.
Ironically, humans are the only species concerned with an economy.
As humans alter their surroundings to accommodate their own needs, the natural environment becomes degraded.
Just because a developed parcel of land is aesthetically pleasing does not mean that the environment has improved.
When people marvel at a magnificent city skyline, they often fail to acknowledge that species once living in that area are gone. This is known as habitat loss.
Ironically, our own existence depends on the abundance and diversity of other organisms.
Human activities are also causing changes in our Earth's climate, and those changes are decreasing the planet's biodiversity.
During its history, the Earth has been able to recover from 5 mass extinctions, periods in which nearly all life on the planet was lost. Scientists have determined that we are currently experiencing a 6th mass extinction.
However, this is the first time that a mass extinction is being caused by a single species.
Our environmental problems all boil down to a very simple concept. Our current way of life is not sustainable. In other words, it is impossible to continue to survive unless we make some drastic changes in the way we do things.
Common sense tells you that if you fail to replenish your bank account, eventually the money will run out.
When it comes to our planet, we continue to take without giving much back. If we fail to negotiate our own solution, eventually nature will negotiate one for us, a solution we may not like.
Fortunately, you will be presented with a very practical and feasible answer to this dilemma in the next unit.
Here is your question for Unit 3.
Which of the following statements is false?
Choice A. Our current way of life is sustainable.
Choice B. Much of the environmental degradation caused by humans can be reversed.
Choice C. Our existence depends on the abundance and diversity of other species.
Or choice D. Overpopulation is the root cause of most of our environmental problems.
The answer and explanation are provided at the beginning of Unit 4.